Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zack Brown. The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are set. Daytona, what an exciting race. Insane crashes, thrilling finish, both series. Truck Series, another playoff race in the bags. World of Outlaws, another great 2 nights of racing. And All-Stars, of course, another great nights of racing. So big week to recap, big week ahead of us. Let's get into it. Let's jump right in and talk about the NASCAR Cup Series race at Daytona with Chris Buescher holding off the boss man, Brad Keselowski, for his 3rd win of the year. If anybody bet that, I applaud you because nobody saw that coming. What a good feel-good story this is. What an insane turnaround Keselowski has made the Roush organization in just his 2nd season as an owner. And what a year the Fords are having at the super speedways as well. I don't think enough can be said how much Keselowski means to this organization, how much he has brought to it, and the culture that has already been instilled and changed at this place. No, Keselowski does not have a win this year. He could have won Daytona. He had the run. He could have taken it to pass Chris Buescher, but he is more excited about Chris winning than himself winning at this point. And to help his team win, that just shows you how cool of a guy that Brad is. And obviously Chris was pumped up, and I'm sure he bought Brad a few beers after that to help him get that big win at Daytona. But what an insane race that Daytona was. You had big crash with Ryan Blaney getting right rear hooked into the wall, and just a tremendous impact. Christopher Bell was bump drafting, and pushing through 3 and 4. And with these cars, you cannot lock up on the corners, especially 15, 20 laps into a run. The tires are too worn out, the cars get too squirrely, and there's just no hanging on to them if you're locking up in a corner. And the results showed. Turned right into Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney hit the wall with a very eerie and familiar wreck, if you will, almost in the exact same area as 22 years ago when Dale Sr. hit it very similar. These cars are designed to take a hit, to break apart like that, similar to how IndyCar does, and to get as least of an impact on the drivers themselves and have Ryan Blaney walk away. He had the wind knocked out of him. You can tell it hurt. But Chris Buescher pushing in the corner, not the smartest idea. I know Ryan Blaney had definitely had words afterward. What was said, I don't know. But you know when Ryan Blaney comes up to you and one of the quietest drivers in the field, something was wrong. The other big wreck everybody's talking about, and I posted it earlier, and something needs to be changed, is the scary flip and barrel roll that Ryan Preece had going down the backstretch. The crash itself didn't surprise me. The way they were racing side by side is just a result of this type of racing. But the way that car just turned and just instantly went airborne, and once it hit the ground the initial time and flew back up into the air with such a hard impact, and barrel rolled several times in the air before coming back down and then still rolling on the ground and finally coming to a stop. That was I was worried. I don't think I've seen a wreck that scary, at least for a long time. Ryan Preece was able to get out of the car, and he was walking around. He went to the hospital as a precautionary. But something's got to be done, NASCAR. You cannot continue to have these cars have these incredible wrecks at the super speedways. These drivers are eventually going to get killed. Something's got to change. You cannot make these things go airborne like this. There's got to be something that you guys can do as a safety measure. You've done already so much for the safety parts of this car and improving it week in and week out. There's got to be something done about the going airborne. These cars should not be going airborne, and it should not even been a possibility going into this race. So whether it was a failure or something that happened on Priest's car that made it flip, so that remains to be seen. But there still has to be some sort of investigation, some sort of engineering meeting going on with NASCAR to make sure that doesn't happen again. Glad Ryan Preece is okay, and I'm glad looks like he'll be racing once again this coming week. But yeah, talking about the win itself, I mean, it was a very exciting race, very good race. Obviously the wrecks were very scary and tremendous, but the way the cars were racing side by side, and it was just good pack racing. Cars were able to, especially Brad's car, was able to give such good pushes and have good runs going down the front stretch and the back stretch. A beautiful night, of course. Daytona, thank you for having such a great night that I'm not there for. I was supposed to be there last year, and yeah, I'm still salty about it. But it's cool to see. It's a great spectacle, and hopefully I'll get a chance to go back down there again. But yeah, Chris Buescher, I mean, wow. I mean, I didn't think we'd be here talking about him as a potential championship favorite. And here we are. And the way the stages rolled out, with Martin Truex Jr. winning a stage and Denny Hamlin getting involved in a wreck, Martin Truex Jr. was crowned middle of the race as the regular season champion. So he gets 15 playoff points and pretty much will lock him into at least the round of 12, if not the round of 8. As long as he stays fairly consistent, he'll be fine. I think if Truex can take care of business for at least the first couple races, he'll be fine. At least getting through the round of 12 and likely getting to the round of 8. I mean, let's call it like it is there. Xfinity race was another great race. They got 2 more races left in the season, but Allgaier getting his first Speedway win over Sheldon Creed by a few 1,000ths of a second. I mean, it was a photo finish. It was incredible to watch. Xfinity, it came down to fuel mileage, and it came down to Justin Allgaier saving fuel on the apron through those cautions, a bunch of green, white checkered finishes at the end. And led to a bunch of questions. Was Allgaier going to run out of fuel, or what was going to happen? If he ran out of fuel at the front, it would have caused some congestion, to say the least. So Allgaier getting his first win on a track like that, just awesome for him. Definitely one of the favorite drivers in the entire NASCAR community, and well-respected driver. So congrats to him. But Darlington, Kansas, last 2 chances for these drivers that are outside the bubble to lock themselves into the playoffs. So we'll see what the Lady in Black is going to bring this week. And then Kansas is anybody's game as well. Touching on the Craftsman Truck Series, Grant Enfinger gets the win and moves himself on into the next round of the championship. So congrats to him. Pretty good race. Went by pretty fast too. So Milwaukee's always a fun track to see, and a bunch of excitement. Hopefully Xfinity and eventually Cup will go back there. Good racing. I'd rather have that than some of these road courses, to be honest. Touching on the IndyCar Series, I think there might be some championship talk right now for Scott Dixon. He is closing in on Alex Palou after getting another win. Joseph Newgarden looked like he was going to win, and the Worldwide Technology Raceway, or Gateway, whatever you want to call it. IndyCars get around there so dang fast, and that just the race finishes so quickly. Just Newgarden was the early on favorite, but had some issues, and Scott Dixon, who I should have went with my gut, takes care of business and draws even closer to Alex Palou. So one of the greatest, if not the greatest, IndyCar driver of all time, closing in on the championship. We'll see how he can finish off the season and if he can steal it from Alex Palou. Going to the World of Outlaws, I believe this might have been the first sweep weekend we have seen. The $1 Million Man himself, Logan Schuchart, takes care of business at Tri-Cities and Red River Valley. So, I think, and it was, he's coming on strong towards this second half of the summer, and I'm not going to say put himself into a championship contention, but he's making some noise in the field, that's for sure. Go to the All-Star Circuit of Champions. I thought this was going to be a sweep weekend for Zeb Wise. Zeb takes care of business the first race. In the second race, he was leading, gets caught up again, gets hit by a lap car into the wall and spins out. And that makes room for the other one that is pretty much guaranteed to get the win if Zeb is out, Tyler Courtney. But Kerry Madsen was making a run at it and was trying to steal it from Tyler. But Sunshine gets the win, and Zeb gets the win the first night. So it's really nothing new there with the All-Star Circuit of Champions. Well, I'm going to discuss it on Crew Chief Corner with my dad about the first four out. We'll give our predictions for that for the NASCAR playoffs. But let's go into my power rankings once again. On the screen right now is what I had last week. And going into this week, the first round of the playoffs, going into Darlington. Daytona shook up a bunch of these rankings. So, let's check it out. Moving back into the top five, a guy that just helped his organization, his other car, get the win at Daytona, Brad Keselowski at number 5. And at number 4, sliding down a couple spots from last week, from a few weeks now in a row. Just had some issues at Daytona. Strong runs likely to come here at the Southern 500, where he always runs well, and at Kansas, of course. Denny Hamlin at number 4. Going ahead at number 3, a good top 10 finish, and stayed out of trouble for the most part. I think everybody ended up being in trouble at Daytona. But number 3, William Byron. And number 2, moving up, shocking the world right now. You got to go with the guy at RFK that's he's already at 3 wins this year, going to the playoffs, got the most momentum, I think, out of anybody. Chris Buescher at number 2. And at number 1, you got to go with the championship favorite right now. He's the most consistent and arguably the fastest car week in and week out. Martin Truex Jr. at number 1. Move to the World of Outlaws power rankings. A little bit shaken up here. So number 5. I'm going with a guy needs to kind of get out of a slump if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. I'm going with the guy that beginning of the year I keep calling he's going to win the championship. He's still in the mix for it. David Gravel at number 5. At number 4, going with the guy who was a hometown hero. Wasn't able to get any wins though, unfortunately, in North Dakota, but solid finishes. Donnie Schatz at number 4. At number 3, I've got the guy who went back-to-back wins and just starting to make a lot of noise in the World of Outlaw community. Logan Schuchart, number 3. And at number 2, gotta go with the guy that's still consistent and battling for top 5s, top 3s, wins every week. Carson Macedo at number 2. And at number 1, the championship point leader. He's growing his lead and trying not to look back and trying to get another championship under his belt. The Big Cat, Brad Sweet at number 1. All right, that does it for the first portion of this. Of course, Before we welcome my dad into Crew Chief Corner, remember Crew Chief Corner is presented by Lickety Lou's All-Purpose Booyah Sauce, now on Amazon. So check the description down below how you can get it easily through Amazon. If you got Prime, go ahead and get your 2-day free shipping. Go ahead and get some of this good stuff. It's going to sell out fast, so get it now. You can also go to licketyloos.com and check out everything else they've got there. All right, let's bring them in. Another week of Crew Chief Corner with Jeff Brown. All right, Dad, we're back at it once again. Finished off the 50th episode last week, and we're into another week, and it is playoff week as NASCAR is concerned. So a big-time week going into the Southern 500 at Darlington.
Yeah, awesome race, historical race, one of the crown jewels. All the drivers get pumped for this track,
I should have worn my Southern 500 shirt. Now I'm thinking of it, but yeah, it's so much fun, and I don't know if they still do it, but I went there pre-COVID, and they had a historical row right behind the backstretch there, which I don't think they sell a whole lot of backstretch tickets, if any, anymore. But they had all of the old paint schemes, old cars, old type of merchandise and everything back there. It's really cool to see all that stuff.
Yeah, they do it upright. I mean, they embrace the whole NASCAR tradition, and and to hell with the political correctness shit that goes on. So it's that's old school redneck racing there. This
is still a privately owned track, and it's not part of Speedway or
I believe so. I think it's about
there's only a couple left. Yeah. So, we got the Xfinity Cup at Darlington this weekend, and obviously we got NHRA back in action to talk about this week, and All Stars and Outlaws. And we're getting into the championship stretch, and quite literally for the Cup Series is the first round of the playoffs, and there's 4 drivers that are not going to make it. It's just how it is, and then if you get caught up in a wreck, and Darlington is the lady in black, so
yeah, for
it's
sure,
a very unpredictable track, and can you conserve your tires, and can you be patient enough but also aggressive enough to tame the track that's too tough to tame. So, and that goes for Xfinity and Cup. Xfinity's got 2 more races. They got this in Kansas before they start, and they start in the round of 12. But looking at the NASCAR Cup Series, as this is the first round, I want to see what you've got. So there's 4 drivers going to be out, and everybody's talking about it. Who are your first 4 out in the NASCAR Cup Series?
Okay, no real particular order. I got Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse, Michael McDowell, and this might be a shocker to some, but I got Ross Chastain going out in the first 4.
My first 4, and I have a little bit different, but I do have Michael McDowell. I don't think these next couple tracks are really well suited for him. If they started off at the Roval or something, or a super speedway, I would say a little bit differently. But I've got Michael McDowell. I've got Stenhouse as well. He just hasn't been running too strong. I've got, this might be a shocker to a lot of people, Tyler Reddick. They keep shooting themselves.
I was torn between Reddick and Chastain on that one. Because
they keep shooting themselves in the foot. And that's just, it's not a championship, not championship level type racing if you keep doing that. And I also have Bubba Wallace out as well. I think it'll be close, but again, these are the best of the best now. So,
but all it takes is one guy to have one bad race, and then all of a sudden then you're a must win. So I mean, it could you could take any of the top 3-4 guys out there. They crash out early in this race, they're in a big hole, big time.
Yep. So yeah, my first 4 out, just again, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick. So both 2311s, Michael McDowell, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So, and there's some wild lists that people have made up that
or I don't really agree with, but I mean, I could be wrong too. I mean, there's only a few points to separate everything, so that's what we talked about. The Xfinity Series, there's 2 more races, and there's drivers that need to get in must wins, and Sheldon Creed came, I think,
Yeah, I was kind of
thousands.
rooting for Sheldon Creed. You know, it'd
Never
been nice
won.
to see somebody. I mean, I like Algar, but it'd have been cool to see Sheldon
Yeah.
Creed get his first win.
Well, Xfinity finally put together a really good race. It was well balanced with just enough wrecks that not was overbearing. I mean, towards the end there were quite a lot of wrecks, but they seem to do super speedways right. This might be a little bit different going to Darlington. You might see some risk takers and not do so well, and plenty of people earning their Darlington stripe. 4 Cup guys
sure.
are 4 Cup guys are racing in this, doing double duty this weekend. I know it's Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and I believe it's Ross Chastain, if I'm not mistaken. So for the Xfinity race on Saturday night on this Labor Day weekend at Darlington, who do you have for the race win?
Well, I do have a Cup driver. He's been fast, and that should have won the Cup race. I don't know how many times. Gets crashed at the end, usually by Denny Hamlin. I got Larson driving the 17 Xfinity car, bringing the win.
I've got a Cup guy as well. You got Cup guys going to Darlington. They just have such a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
I have the other Kyle. I have Kyle Busch in the number 10 car that's racing there this weekend. The Southern 500, one of the crown jewels of NASCAR racing. Lots of current active drivers that have won this. A couple of them won it multiple times. Who's your pick for the Southern 500?
Well, the Southern 500, you got to be, like you were saying, patiently aggressive, and you got to save your equipment till the end, and in the end, you better balls it. And I'd say this guy probably does it better than about anybody else. He's won it before. Martin Truex Jr.
And he is the championship favorite in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I said it earlier. I think he can at least get to the round of 12, if not round of 8, just based on his points already. And so a lot of stuff they can take more chances with. I have this as a sweep weekend. I have Kyle Busch in the Cup race in the Southern 500. I believe he's won it once before when he raced for Joe Gibbs, but Kyle's going to have a breakthrough run sooner or later. He's had some bad luck, and there's some analysts that think that he's going to be the first 4 out. There's no chance. And I'm still sticking with him going to the Final 4 like I did at the beginning of the year. So Kyle Busch with a sweep this weekend.
Yeah, he's been fast. There's just been some mistakes. They cleaned them up. He's got a real good shot.
Yeah, and he's a champion for a reason.
So. Mom's picking Larson for the Cup race.
All right. Well, I'm not picking Larson anymore, especially his last 10 races, so I can't do that. And we're not going to go into our Final 4. We talked about that earlier this year and everything. We'll see how everything plays out. Once it gets to the round of 8, we'll talk a little bit more about the Final 4. Yeah. But let's go into NHRA real quick. It's the U.S. Nationals in Indy.
Yeah, this is the Super Bowl for the drag racing, the Indy 500, the Daytona 500 for these guys. This has got all the prestige, all the hype. I believe this is the last race before the countdown, and I think if I read that correctly, each round is 1.5 times points than normal, so you can actually make some big jumps going in before they reset for the countdown on that one. So it's always a good race. I mean, everybody's bringing their best. Most of the teams are based in the Indianapolis area, so it's a home race for them. So it's going to be, everybody's going to be there, family, friends, sponsors. It's a huge event.
And again, we've been talking about it. This is where everything ramps up. This is where the championship favorites will start to pull away. This is where they show what they've got, especially in drag racing. You better start getting hot now, because it's coming down to the wire, and there's only a few races left, and there's not a whole lot of mistakes to be given. So I believe it's all 4 series here. I'd be so shocked if it was not, because it's the U.S. Nationals. It's huge. let's go into our picks, and we could probably skip our motorcycle pick. I can guarantee it's the same guy. Yeah, Gage Herrera is the favorite. I watch him lose the championship somehow.
Well, it's funny the way the NHRA countdown is. It's quite common for the 10th place driver to quickly move up the ladder. I think Brittany Force either won the championship or came real close. Like she was at the bottom of the ladder, and all of a sudden you get hot for 3-4 races, and bam, you make a ton of points real quick. So
yeah,
is because the points reset, he's got that huge point lead now. That's going to go away after this weekend.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean,
but his consistency won't go away.
I mean, he has to have some kind of mechanical failure or mental failure to probably lose it. I
would think so.
Yeah, it's his race to lose. That's for sure.
Yeah. Greg. Oh, sorry. Well, I gave my pick away. The pro stocks. Yeah, I told you who I'm picking. Who you got?
This guy's probably been one of the fastest on the tree. Well, I just eliminated one of the person or a couple of the girls. But, he's been fast. He's never won the U.S. National. He's going to get his first. Dallas Glenn.
Yeah, I'd eliminate everybody because I gave away my damn pick. I've got one that, I mean, he's one of the best in the business. He's got to get out of his slump sooner or later. Greg Anderson.
Yeah, you'd think so, but you never know.
With me picking him, probably not. Going to funny car.
Yeah, funny car. This one's tough. I mean, I think
between this and
Caps, Caps is probably the favorite going in on these things. I mean, you got Caps, you got
Matt Hagan.
The John Force cars have been struggling.
The Tony cars have been fast.
I think the whole thing's probably going to come down between Caps and Matt Hagan on this one. So for the U.S. Nationals, I got Ron Caps.
I've got neither of those drivers, but another one that could slide in there to be in the championship mix as well, Robert Hight.
Yeah, never count out Jimmy Prock on that thing. All of a sudden, they'll get something figured out, and who knows? They were struggling, and then maybe they decided, you know what, we're going to probably be in the countdown no matter what. Let's start trying some stuff. Maybe they got something figured out. Maybe they don't. We'll have to see what happens.
All right, we're going into Top Fuel now.
Yeah, this one got a little different. He's won the U.S. Nationals before. He's got, I think, one win, possibly two this year. This is the race where some of the non-regular winners of the year seem to come out. So I'm gonna pick Antron Brown.
And that would be a very popular. If you couldn't tell, very popular win for the U.S. Nationals. I'm going with another one that'd be a very popular win too. She's got a couple wins already this year. Definitely a championship favorite, Brittany Force.
I don't think she has any wins this year.
I thought she had one or two, maybe not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let's say she does. Does it sound like I'm right?
Okay.
All right.
That would be any time a Force cars.
I know she set a record. She set a record. I think that was in Colorado and during qualifying.
Yeah,
Colorado or Minnesota.
38 miles an hour, where it's
something like that. She
makes the car is super fast when it gets down the track. A lot of times, her reaction times are usually what cost her.
Yeah,
she loses on a whole shot a lot.
You never want to on that.
No.
All right, we're going into dirt racing, the All-Stars in the World of Outlaws, and we were kind of texting about this. It's kind of seeming like the All-Stars might be in some trouble now. There's not a lot of diversity with different winners anymore, but I mean, people still show up to the races. I do see good crowds at all of these, so they do have that going. But
the racing's been good, and if it wasn't for the local cars, you're just not going to have a show. And it's, it seems like, I don't know, in my opinion, I think they're in trouble over a traveling series. There's some rumors that maybe they're going to try to merge with Larson's series. I heard that. I don't know how much that's going to be, but right now, it's a two-horse show basically, because you never know who's going to be running these shows.
And the difference between the All-Stars and Outlaws really are the budget of these teams. Outlaws, everybody's got a tremendous millions of dollar budget.
Oh yeah.
The All-Star guys, a couple of them got that type of budget, which are the winners. But these guys, you can tell they can show up in their F-350 and a regular trailer. I mean, it's not like a big rig or anything like that. So it's tough
rigs
for
will
these
make
guys.
you win the races, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for the guys to just go out and each and every week if they don't have the sponsorship. Some of them don't even have the time. Some of them got regular jobs. So it's hard.
A lot of the guys, they work. Even if the driver is a full-time driver, you probably got part-time pit crew.
For sure.
It's expensive to hire, because you're gonna have to have at least 2 or 3 guys to be on the road all the time. Driving the truck, it's tough, very expensive, and it's like the All-Stars. You don't want to say they're a bit of a lower series. I mean, they got as good of equipment as anybody in the country, so it's nothing cheaper there. So it's tough. It's kind of a shame, because I think where they normally run is kind of an easier travel schedule compared to the Outlaws. Here we got the Outlaws going the whole way out to Washington State. Then they're going to be coming back across the country again. So it's the All-Stars used to be a way bigger deal than it is. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if they don't pay the teams enough money to be a full-time, regular like the Outlaws. They pay their teams, but they restrict them pretty heavy as well.
Well, one thing I will say, the Outlaws are a lot more advertised than the All-Stars.
Yeah.
The All-Stars, if you go on Flow and they're live, that should be the first thing that pops up. They'd be like, hey, All-Stars are on right now. It shows some NASCAR 5-year-old series that are racing over here at Millbridge first, or whatever it may be. Or then they'll show another late model race, and then it's like the third or fourth, you finally, the All-Stars are on.
And sometimes it doesn't even say All-Stars. It'll say,
ASOC.
Well, it'll be like, it'll even say just like, Attica Speedway. It'd be like, I'm looking, it should come up, All-Star Circuit of Champions at whatever track.
And whoever's in charge of their social media for Flow Racing or All-Stars, whoever it might be on, they do not do a good job at posting the highlights like the Outlaws do.
Yeah, the Outlaws are done in a couple hours.
Yeah, the Outlaws is done. And All-Stars, it's been a couple days. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I don't know who won. And there's really not a whole... They do pretty good on their Twitter and stuff, but other than that, it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I'd rather watch the highlights and be surprised. I'd rather not just see, Sherry's sprint car updates and see who won. I try purposely not to look at any social media when if I don't watch the race, get up and try to see the highlights.
Well, all right, enough of our soapbox right now with the All-Stars. All-Stars are invading Attica, as you mentioned Attica just a little bit ago. They've been here before. It's a Dust Bowl, but they put on
great racing. Yep.
Amazing shows this year.
If you can see it.
And I don't even think we need to talk about it anymore. Let's just go into our picks. And I think you're going to have a lot of good Ohio guys that are making their way here. And it wouldn't surprise me if one or both of the Blaneys make it there.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say I would be shocked if Dale Blaney isn't running, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
But I think this is going to be the first time I picked the sweep for a weekend on any of the series.
Hey, I got a sweep too.
All right, I got Zeb Wise.
So do I. There we go. Easy enough. He should have swept last week. He ran into a lap car, ran into the fence, and spun out. He should have won the second race, and he just had some bad luck. And almost was right on Kerry Matson. So
you had a very good week last week in all your picks. You were really close on.
Well, I mean, we were not the Xfinity.
Yeah, well, both of ours were crashed in that one. So.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Outlaws, again, they've been... Now Logan Schuhart's entering the chat again.
Yeah.
He knocked off the back-to-back wins last week. And now they're going the whole way out. This is probably their hardest traveling schedule. Well, I don't know where most of them are based out of, but after this week in North Dakota, they go the whole way to as far west as you could pretty much get, unless they go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So they're at Skagit. We haven't talked about this one, so go ahead.
Skagit,
whatever.
Apparently, from what I've seen, I would have called it Skagit, but they didn't give a whole lot of details on the track. It appears to be about a 3/8 mile. It's the dark clay, very smooth. Like I said before, I think that dark clay lends itself very well for sprint car racing. It stays smooth. It builds a small curb way around the outside, but it'll get slick without being dusty. So that normally opens up multiple lanes. I mean, you'll see guys driving through the middle of that stuff. If it starts to get just a little bit of rubber laid down, you can see them driving through the middle. Can be a little hard on tires if it starts laying rubber. So that's one thing to watch out for. But it looks like, from just watching a few of the races the last few years, the bottom seems to be the way to go early in the night, and then it gradually works its way out. And I'm thinking the second night, the top is probably going to be fast, just for being a 2-night show.
All right. Well, enough said on that. It's Labor Day weekend, Friday, Saturday night at Skagit. It just makes me want to say, oh, yeah, don't you know Skagit? Here we go. I don't even know how close it is to Canada, but it just sounds like it's a Canadian type of track. I don't know. Who are your picks for this track?
Night 1, I got Brad Sweet. And night 2, I got a little different pick than I normally have done. He's been struggling, but I don't think he's going to break out for this one, especially since the top's fast. Sheldon Hodenshield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's had some bad luck on his side.
Yeah.
So it's not just performance.
Flat tires and
luck.
things like that. Just, he's been quick.
I'm going with, I think he's entering as getting close to the championship favorite as of now. And he's moved up in my power rankings each and every week, it seemed like. Carson Macedo is my pick for night 1. And night 2, he's consistently in my top 5 in power rankings. And he's got to break one. We thought he was going to break it last week and get at least one of the wins. Yeah. But Donnie Schatz, my second night. And Labor Day, since everybody's off, so it's kind of unique. It's kind of like a Sunday then, but it's Monday. It's Monday night. They're going to Grays Harbor, and that's in Washington as well.
Yeah, Elma, Washington, wherever that is. Yeah, that one, it's a 3/8 mile oval. It very similar shape to Skagit. Smooth and wide, dark clay. Again, it looks like this track is probably slicker than Skagit is, just from watching it. Multiple grooves early, but it seems like, and I don't know if just the races I were watching, if they were starting to get some rubber down, but the bottom at the end really started to come in. I mean, and when I mean the bottom, I mean their left front wheel up on the berm and the whole
firing off. Yep. It's
because the top's got a cushion, and you'll see the guys, they'll haul it in and get about halfway through, and it's just too far around.
Well, that'll make for interesting races, because there's some drivers that cannot run the bottom in the Outlaws, and they only will run the top, and vice versa too. So that'll definitely add a bunch of excitement for that race. All right, Labor Day on Monday night. Who you got?
I got your night 2 pick from the night before. I got Carson Macedo. He's going to go back to back at this.
I had him at night 1
last year.
I had him at night 1.
Oh, whatever, Russ.
Yeah. And I've got a guy that he's got to get back into his groove. He's had a string of bad luck. David Gravel's my pick for Labor Day.
He was fast last year. It was a race between he and Macedo for sure.
Thinking about running the bottom, he can run both grooves. I think he can definitely get it done. All right, well, that ends this week, and you know what's next week? And people hearing this and seeing this might not realize what is next week. The Tuscarora 50 is next week.
Yep,
and for us, that's a big time race, so we'll definitely be talking about that.
75,000 to win.
Something they added
50 or 50. I don't remember what it was. 50.
No, it's whatever the annual Tuscarora is.
Yeah, 53, 75 is Williams Grove.
Yeah, Williams Grove is the big one. Yeah, but it's still big purse, 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll look forward to that. But Darlington this week for NASCAR, I'm looking forward to that. So until next week, Dan, we'll see you then.
All right. Good night.